1 year ago, I posted my first net worth video where I broke down what I had in each of my bank accounts as a 25-year-old. Now I'm 26 with a year of plugging away at financial goals under my belt, and I wanted to sit down and do the exact same thing. In this video, I'll be sharing how much money I have, where I keep it, and how it all adds up compared to last year. I've learned so much from people who choose to be transparent with their money, so I'm hoping to pass along the favor. My motives with money are not simply to grow my net worth. I see money as a tool that helps me buy a happy life, including paying for hobbies, buying my time freedom, as well as my security. So if you want to learn how I use my money to do this, go ahead and subscribe. While I don't place my value in my net worth or set goals strictly around it, I do think it's a great tool to measure how my work reflects in my financial picture. So let's dive in and uncover exactly what's going on with my money. Let's go ahead and just start at the bottom and work our way back up. I have student loans. I borrowed just over $127,000 to pay for my doctorate in occupational therapy, and I was able to do this because I made it through my undergraduate debt-free. When I was looking at going to grad school, I calculated that I would actually be able to pay off loans faster than if I had saved up for school because of the income change after getting my doctorate degree. I started working just about a year and a half ago, and last year when I made this video, my loan balance was $118,222. Today, my debt is at $78,592. So I paid off $39,630 in 1 year. I talk a lot about my debt strategies and give you a lot of debt updates on my channel, but the most important thing for me has been consistency. I also am very intentional about putting extra money towards my loans, and in the name of transparency, I did have a cash influx of about $15,000 in the spring that I was able to put entirely towards my loans. So from my regular paychecks, I was able to put $24,000. It's all my money, but it's just helpful to see where it comes from for a more realistic picture of this debt payoff. Now let's talk about investments. Right now, my only focus for investing is retirement. I use two very common accounts to invest, a 401k and a Roth IRA. These are both tax benefited and allow me to do the bare minimum, but still start making progress towards retirement, especially because I'm so young. Let's start with the 401k. Right now, my strategy with this is just to invest up to my employer match. So I'm investing the maximum amount, which for me is 5%, that gets me the max employer match. I am not maxing out my 401k. I want as much free money from my employer as I can get, but my primary focus is my debt payoff. Last year, I just started using this account because I wasn't eligible for it until September, and I had $873.55 invested. Today, I have $6,796, which is in part from an average return on investment of 17% that I've gotten over the past year. Because I'm so young, I'm in a target date fund that is mostly stocks, whether domestic or foreign, so that's just a picture of my profile and breakdown. This isn't financial advice, I just think it's interesting to share what the asset class is so you can kind of see a picture of how that money's grown. Anyways, this means that my investments in this account are up $5,922 in just 1 year. Next up is my Roth IRA, and it's kind of the same story here. When I made this video last year, I had just started investing in this account. I spent the first few months that I was employed figuring out my financial goals and putting extra money towards my debt. I was working PRN at this time, so I didn't have a lot of stability in my hours, and I figured if I could bring down my debt, it would reduce the number of monthly payments I had, which would reduce my fixed expenses and take some of the pressure off of working, but I ended up switching to full-time quicker than I thought and was able to get that stability a lot sooner. So 1 year ago, I had $387 invested in my Roth IRA, and today I have $7,992.50 invested in my Roth IRA. I think I'm entirely in domestic stocks, and my rate of return was about 15% in this account. So it's performing a little worse than my 401k, but way better than a high yield savings account. So still a good place for my money. And we're in it for the long run. Okay, since I brought up savings, let's talk about it. I've actually had some changes to how I save and organize my money. So I have 3 different savings accounts with different goals. First up is my health savings. Because I am so young and I'm knocking on wood, don't have many health problems and don't really use my health benefits other than my preventative care visits, I try to use a high deductible plan and take advantage of an HSA. And because doing this saves my employer money on premium, they go ahead and give me money towards that HSA every single year. Last year I had $605 saved in my HSA. This year I have $2,375. This is a change of $1,770. I can't afford to max this account out, so I don't. I also do occasionally spend from this account. I try not to, and I try to limit it only to things that I really need the money for, but I can't afford to save monthly or put money that I have elsewhere towards health expenses, so I use this account for what it's for. I try to be sparing with it, and I do have some of the money invested, but I don't have enough money to optimize everything, so I have to spend from this account. One of my goals when I pay off my debt will be to max out this account for a couple years because I will eventually switch to a lower deductible plan. I have my eye on that in the future, but want to take advantage of my, again, knocking on wood, relatively good health to have more money. We'll see. I'm betting against myself here. My next savings account is my emergency fund, and this is the account that has changed the least in the last year because I consider my emergency fund fully funded and have not contributed anything else to it. The only thing I do is leave the interest that accrues in that account in that account. And I do this because while I consider it fully funded, it's not where I would want it to be. Because I'm paying off my debt, I don't want to keep too much cash on hand, and $10,000 does cover 3 months of expenses. It also does cover my deductible and max out of pocket for insurance. So any large emergencies I have are covered, but we do own a home that has the potential to have high maintenance, and in general, I want more financial security than 3 months of expenses. But again, while I'm paying off debt, I want to make sure I'm not keeping too much cash on hand because I'm losing money every single month by having that debt. Ultimately, I work in healthcare. I have pretty good job security. Losing my job is not necessarily something that I consider, and if I did have to stop working, it would most likely be either a workers' comp situation or I would have disability, so there would be some sort of income. And in the worst case scenario, I would hopefully be eligible for unemployment. So months without any income at all is not really a realistic way for me to think about an emergency fund. And when saving, I do think it's helpful to think of smaller goals. I've talked about this in other ways to build an emergency fund video. But anyways, last year I had $10,070 in this account, and this year I have $10,639. The math isn't mathing there. I should have only earned $300 in interest. So I got $300 from somewhere else, but I don't really know where that came from, which is unlike me. Anyways, even $300 for literally doing nothing but leaving my money in an account is great. Inflation in my area was 2.77% in the last year, so I'm basically just hedging my money against that. But if my money weren't in a high yield savings account, I would literally be losing money just every single year. Oh, I just remembered where the extra money came from. So last year I had a savings account that was specifically for car funds, and this came from money that I had saved through like high school that was just living in another account, and I had it there, and I just figured that I would use it for an emergency car repair, and then I had an emergency car repair that was almost $2,000. So I went ahead and just moved the couple $100 that was left over into my emergency fund because they were at the same bank, and that just seemed simplest. So that's where the extra money came from. That answers that mystery. And then that also allowed me to close down that savings account. So that one is no longer there. We won't talk about it. $0. Had to fix something in my car. I don't remember what it was. Something deep broke, and they were gonna have to tear my engine apart anyway, so I just did the timing belt because it was gonna be the same cost. So in the long run, I saved on a car repair, or net zero. Okay, my final savings account is for my sinking funds. My sinking funds are my favorite thing in the world because they allow me to turn my larger irregular expenses that wouldn't fit into a budget and would blow my budget every time into regular monthly savings. I often refer to my sinking funds as buckets, and because this is money that's meant to be spent, including it in the net worth is kind of you know? But I did it last year, so I'm gonna do it again this year. I also will take any excuse to talk about a sinking fund because I love them and they're the best way to save money. Anyways, last year I had just started saving, so I had $553.63 in my sinking fund. This year, upon telling you this, I just drained my largest sinking fund, which is my travel fund. So my account is lower than it has been, but it's still at $1,401. So I'm up a total of $850 in this savings account. Some of the things I save for are travel, car maintenance, my ski pass, credit card annual fees. These are all things that I buy once, maybe twice a year that I know I'm gonna be buying, but wouldn't necessarily have a place in my budget and would probably make me overspend in a category because I am so strict in my budgeting. Again, I love them, they're great. And finally, cash. I keep just barely a month's worth of expenses on hand in cash, and again, including this in a net worth is tomato. It fluctuates a lot based on how much I've spent, what bills I paid, whatever. So right now I have $1,392, which is actually down from when I filmed this video last year and had $2,293. But again, whatever. So we've arrived. I can add all of these numbers up and tell you my net worth. Last year I was worth negative $99,272. This year I'm worth negative $47,996. So my net worth is up $51,283 in just 1 year. Mind you, my very first year. Yeah, that's nuts. Those are some big kid numbers. And if the math is mathing, then if everything goes right, I should have a zero net worth around this time next year, if not even higher. Which I would say going from 6 figures in debt to a zero net worth in 2 years is pretty good work. So yeah, go ahead and subscribe to see if it happens. If you enjoyed watching this, then you might also like this video, give it a try. And if you don't want that one, then I'll see you in the next one.